Yo, what's up guys, John Boogle here, and here we are with the second part of the Wawa Revenge stage. Of course, let's hop right into it. Now this is a very spammy stage, so having high leveled AoE attackers here is very nice, and the levels I recommend for this stage is of course above level 35, but a key unit to have here is of course Manic Macho Legs or any Waver, but if you are using Manic Macho Legs, I do recommend getting it to level 40 for this level. Now a replacement for level 40 Manic Macho Legs is of course Slime. If you have Slime, if you have any nice Ubers, that could work really well too. But the main unit I would say for the stage, not really so much your Waver, but Cyberpunk. It's really a combination of the two units. Your Waver and Cyberpunk allows you to crowd control Wawa very easily, so it is very recommended to get Cyberpunk. If you don't have Cyberpunk True Formed already, I'm pretty sure you already do. Now if you do not have Cyberpunk, you're gonna have to rely on Ubers to help you out. Stuff like Fest exclusives and Cats in the Cradle, and we'll get into more Uber suggestions later on in the video. But our attackers here, of course, I recommend above level 35 for your attackers. So Pizza, very nice for the stage, especially if you have those wave talents. You can use Slapsticks as well, you can use Cyborg as well. If you don't have any of those options, of course, you can just use a level 40 Manic Flying. Level 30 may work as well paired with your other attackers, so do keep that in mind. Another unit you can use for this stage that is really great, of course, Seafarer really helps with, of course, the Alien Croc phase, and yeah, pretty good DPS, good attack rate, good survivability, overall good unit for the stage. Housewife, another very solid unit for the stage. Nice LD, can help out to take out a lot of peons when you're being rushed. And with talents, Housewife can become a serious option, so yeah, highly recommend that if you do have those talents. Bullet Train, of course, is the hard counter to Wawa, so obviously I recommend Bullet Train. Also helps with cash, so you don't need Rich Cat. And of course, Can is just an optional unit to bring. Mine has bounty talent, so it does help with cash. Otherwise, you could just bring Rich Cat and replace Can with another AoE attacker. But that's basically the lineup here. Of course, we have our Stallers, Ramen, and Cameraman. Good survivability, it helps a lot when you're being overrun by the mass spam of peons. Just basic peon control stuff here. Once again, the main thing is Cyberpunk and your Waver. A combination of those two units balances out and is enough DPS to crowd control Wawa. Now let's finally hop into this strategy. Of course, with power-ups, I recommend bringing Cat CPU. It is optional, but it does help out pretty well in the later phase. And of course, if you don't have Bullet Train or Can bounty talent, I recommend bringing a Rich Cat. But in the beginning, of course, what you want to do is push. As always, Bullet Train, being the hard counter to Wawa, is able to get some nice hits on Wawa early in the level, which is crucial for the later half. So definitely do take advantage of those trolley bloggers in the beginning there to get those nice hits, because yeah, that damage does help a lot in the later half of the level. Now, of course, what you want to do is set up your push for when the huge wave of peon arrives. That's when you want to send out Cyberpunk. So in the beginning here, what we want to do is just try to stack up as much cash as possible while also doing as much damage as possible. As you can see, we're pushing really hard and we're getting Wawa in a soft knockback lock right there. So just keep pushing hard. A key thing to keep in mind here is when you do send out Cyberpunk, when you are getting pushed back, and you lure to the base, because of course you want to lure to the base so Cyberpunk isn't in death range of Wawa, and Cyberpunk is just in a safe spot to crowd control Wawa. A key thing to keep in mind when you send out Cyberpunk is to have a Waver ready with Cyberpunk, because sometimes Cyberpunk will not be able to knock back Wawa alone. That is why we need that Waver support, such as Manic Macho Legs, to help Cyberpunk crowd control Wawa even more. I mean, that won't really be an issue if you have like max slow talents on your Cyberpunk, but of course we don't have barely any slow talents on our Cyberpunk, so we absolutely do need that Waver support. Now the positioning is really weird when you first try to attempt this level. but after a couple attempts, unless you beat it on the first try, you'll know when to send out Cyberpunk, because in this situation, Wawa is actually knocked back a bit too far. We can still send out Cyberpunk and it'll be in a safe spot, but of course we want that huge initial hit, so that is pretty important to keep in mind. Maximize your damage output and Wawa will be able to get knocked back very easily. Now of course, here's the huge massive peon spam, and this is why you need so many AoE attackers here. And there we go, Wawa is up at the perfect spot, not hitting the base and in Cyberpunk's range. This is where we can just abuse our waivers, and of course, Cyberpunk supporting as well. Or it's the other way around with waivers supporting Cyberpunk. Anyways, basically, at this point, just turn on Cat CPU and let the level play out. A thing I could say here is plus levels on Cyberpunk actually does make a difference in this part of the level. So if you do have some extra levels to spare on Cyberpunk, I actually don't recommend boosting Cyberpunk too much, but if you do have some extra levels on Cyberpunk for some reason, it will help out in this part. Of course, boosting Cyberpunk is a minimal damage change, but damage output is pretty important in this level with Wawa, because of course Wawa is able to get knocked back very easily with of course a constant amount of attackers being in the front line, or of course using your waivers and Cyberpunk in combination to get those knockbacks. Anyways, you should be able to hold out long enough to where the peon phase is over, then you can just rush Wawa down with Bullet Train, Can, and everything else. But basically, you send out Cyberpunk in the crucial moment and just hold out with CPU and you pretty much beat Wawa. But yeah, let's hop into another example lineup and we'll go into the Uber suggestions and stuff like that. Now in this run, of course, a big thing here is an extra waiver support with Cyberpunk, and the result of that is a perfect run with no base damage taken, and it is pretty easy to pull off once you support Cyberpunk with the right waiver units, such as Slime, and of course, in this example we are using Dark Laser with wave talents. Of course, Special Cat investment isn't something I recommend too highly without investing in your other units first, but if for some reason you do have those Dark Laser wave talents, it is very helpful in this level, because you can see the difference it makes. We go to a base hit run to a no base hit run just by adding Dark Laser into the lineup. So yeah, extra wave support with Cyberpunk is crucial. Now for Uber usage in this stage, what I recommend highly is, of course, pretty much all of the Fest exclusives destroy the stage. So yeah, if you have them, they can pretty much sweep the stage very easily with the extra support of other attackers. Of course, waiver Ubers is very nice for the stage. Cats in a Cradle is especially nice, with of course a large amount of health and of course those waves. LD Ubers works pretty okay in the stage too, so that is another thing to keep in mind. Of course, Dart has LD, so that is pretty nice, but most of the time it's pretty much just reliant on your other attackers, of course, supporting the units you bring, of course bringing waivers and stuff like Cameraman, Pizza, Bullet Train, stuff like that, just to support everything else is the key thing here. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up Wawa. Drop a like if this guide helped you out, of course, subscribe if you're new, join the hashtag Boogle Gang, and yeah, Wawa officially complete. It's been Sean Boogle, and see ya.